Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2022 Mercedes-Benz C200. Now if you're in the US, you're probably wondering, what is that car? It doesn't exist in the US, and also what is that license plate? So I'm in Canberra, Australia, and I wanted to do a quick review because how cool is it to see a car that doesn't even exist in North America? So most people familiar with the Mercedes-Benz brand probably are familiar with the C-Class. It's been around for quite a while, very popular compact luxury sedan here in the States. And it's the C300 right now in the US, but in Australia they actually get the option of having a lower power output one called the C200, which is cheaper than the C300. So the C300 is available in Australia, but it's a bit pricier. So the C200 here is fully redesigned for the 5th generation, and it kind of walks behind its big brother, the S-Class. So you guys probably have heard at some point that the S-Class just got redesigned, and that is their very large executive sedan. And I got a chance to drive it earlier this year. Check out my review here, I'll link it right here. And I mean, that was an awesome sedan, and I'm so glad to see that the little brother, the C-Class, is following exactly in its footsteps. You get the exact same tech, you get the same infotainment setup, but a smaller car. So I think this is a great option for people who want a very tech-forward car, kind of has understated looks, right? This car doesn't scream bold or stylish, right? But it looks nice, and it's understated, it's simple. I think a lot of people will appreciate that. The C200 starts at 78,900 Australian dollars, which is about 53,000 US dollars, which is quite a huge increase compared to what you have in the States. That's one thing that really shocked me when I was looking up this car, is how much more expensive it is here compared to in the US. Considering the US, you get the C300, which is very different. The good part about the C200, though, is that it comes standard with almost every safety goodie in the world. And with a $4,100 vision package, you get heads-up display, you get front and rear parking sensors, you get their incredible augmented reality navigation system, and pretty much everything you want. And I think that's a really great deal. So I think most of the cars are spec'd out with the vision package, which brings this car to an as-tested price of about 85,000 Australian dollars. And I mean, it's definitely not cheap. It's the most expensive player in its segment. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's for good reason. They do have better tech than the BMW and Audi counterparts, right? The Audi A4 is very popular, and the BMW 3 Series has long been king of this segment as well. And I think, the BMW is a bit more sporty and stylish, whereas the Audi is the cheapest one of the three. So, they all have their pros and cons. Mercedes is obviously very confident in this vehicle, considering it is almost $10,000 more expensive than the Audi A4. The C200 is powered by a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, makes 150 kilowatts and 300 Newton meters of torque. I'll put the US conversions here as well, for those of you who don't really understand what that means. This car goes about 0 to 60 in 7.3, so it's definitely not a fast car. But again, this is not what you would expect when you're buying the lowest trim compact luxury sedan from Mercedes. It's not an AMG model. Though, what is really interesting with this car is that the AMG line is standard on the exterior, right? Those of you who are very familiar with the brand might notice the AMG wheels here, as well as the AMG floor mats on the interior. So, also the AMG grille. I think that's one of the neat looks that makes this car look a bit sportier, right? It looks low and kind of mean, honestly, from the front. Definitely sportier than I would expect a Mercedes-Benz to look like, especially the C-Class, right? This is not the AMG C43 or anything like that. This is the base C200. You've got a 9-speed automatic transmission, very smooth. You also got a 48-volt mild hybrid system that helps with acceleration and kind of smoothing out the torque curve. It makes this car feel buttery smooth when you're driving, which is exactly what you want in an executive sedan like this, right? The 9-speed automatic is mated to a rear-wheel drive system and gets you fuel economy numbers about 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is about 34 miles per gallon in the US, which is quite impressive for a luxury vehicle. All right, guys, let's get into the exterior here. This color is called Selenite Gray, very popular Mercedes-Benz color. You can probably see tons of GLCs and stuff like that with this color, but it's a classic. It looks fantastic. I think it looks way better than the other gray color, which is graphite gray, which is a bit darker. This one kind of sparkles and is very metallic, which is nice. I think it looks really good with that AMG line package. Like I said before, that is standard. So it's not really an AMG line package when it's standard, right? I don't really understand how that works, but it looks nice. They redesigned the entire exterior and interior for this 5th generation. The exterior looks great, takes a lot of styling cues, if not all the styling cues from the S-Class, like I mentioned before. The rear is understated. I I think that's the entire look of this vehicle, right? Is very understated, and I think it looks awesome. You've got LED headlights at the front, and you've also got these 18-inch AMG wheels. So these used to be an upgrade on the previous generations, but now that it's standard, looks pretty nice. The other wheel is a 19-inch wheel that has a lot more spokes and looks a lot more luxurious. Body lines on the side, pretty standard, nothing too angular. Again, simple and understated. That is really the theme of the C-Class. You want it to be fancy, but you don't want it to be too, like, you know, flamboyant, I guess. Going into the rear here, you've got the boot, as they say here in Australia. You can open it. It is power liftgate, which is super cool, kind of rare to see in sedans, although it's getting more popular. Fits a decent amount of stuff in here. You've got 455 liters of space here, which is about 16 cubic feet. Not bad for a sedan. You can fold down the seats as well to give you a bit more space. Love that it's power closing. And let's just take a moment to admire that front fascia before we go into the driver's seat. Looks very good. I love the real vents, although the ones on the side are fake, but it looks nice. It looks sporty, I guess. So, right-hand drive, obviously, definitely tripped me up a lot when I first got into this vehicle. Looks so different, but honestly, it kind of starting to look normal to me since I've been here for about 2 weeks now. But you've got the classic Mercedes look here. Looks great. It's quiet. Build quality is substantially improved over the last generation. So quiet once you get in, right? You've got some nice Mercedes logos to kind of greet you when you get in. Start-stop button right there. And I mean, this infotainment system is fantastic. 11.9-inch touchscreen right there and 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. You've also got a heads-up display and all the tech you could ever ask for. It's really cool. I will say the steering wheel still isn't my favorite thing. This double design is kind of weird, but it's pretty easy to use. And in general, like, this tech is the best in its class. I will definitely say that. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that this is better than BMW, Audi, Lexus, or, you know, any of the other luxury sedan players here. And it's so great. I can't believe they were able to use the exact same thing from the S-Class and basically have this be, what, a third of the price of the S-Class? So I think it's a great deal. The interior is fantastic. I love the ambient lighting. It looks really great. I love the circular vents. This whole look is just luxurious, right? It's hard to get in here and not be impressed by the interior. I'm not going to go too far into the actual infotainment and how it works, but just know that it is buttery smooth. I really like it. Easy. You've got some hard buttons to access things. I will say, obviously, like most cars, the climate controls being integrated in the touchscreen, not my favorite, but they are pretty easy to hit. But again, wish they were hard buttons. You've got a few driving modes. You interestingly have Sport and Sport Plus. Sport Plus on a car that barely makes 200 horsepower is kind of interesting. You've got the excellent 360 camera and you know, driver settings here. You've got a fingerprint sensor here as well. It's not set up for this vehicle because it's a loaner. But yeah, otherwise it's a pretty great infotainment system. You can check out a more in-depth review of it on the S-Class. It's pretty much the exact same thing. Runs Mercedes MBUX 2.0. Fantastic infotainment system. Love it. There is a tiny bit of a learning curve, but I think in general it's better than some of the other competitors these days. I love this like faux carbon fiber look as well. It is standard. It's not an upcharge. It's so cool. Most of this vehicle actually, like I said, is standard, included in that 78,900 Australian dollar hefty price tag, but you get a lot for it. And I think, like I said, Mercedes is very confident that this vehicle is better than the competition. You've got memory seats for both the passenger and the driver. Heated seats are standard. Burmeister sound system is standard, but it's not that impressive, honestly. You can upgrade to the 3D sound system, which is a lot better. As expected at this price tag, the 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster is pretty nice. Not the most configurable thing, not as configurable as Audi's virtual cockpit, but this is pretty nice, right? You've got different systems here, and you can kind of go here to change the different modes. You've got understated, sport, classic, the navigation mode, assistance. So, you know, quite a few different things here. You can go up here to change what the heads-up display shows. And I mean, I like the classic look. I think it looks great. I usually keep it right here to see the music, but you can see everything you need to know, the temperature, fuel, all that sort of good stuff. Going out and zooming out a little bit for the actual steering wheel, like I said before, the design is kind of weird. You've got radar cruise control, and like, look at that. Like, it's so easy to accidentally touch these like haptic controls. That's the thing, I don't like them. I really think Mercedes is going to go away from this eventually in the future. I think having physical controls is really the way to go. I hate that volume is using the slider. Kind of weird, right? Like I just don't like using it. It's hard to be precise when it comes to these sort of haptic functions. Let's go into the rear seat here. So legroom and headroom is not bad. So I'm going to sit behind the driver's seat here and I'll show you guys what it looks like. I've got some good headroom, and legroom is definitely not something I would complain about. You do also have a dual pane pano sunroof, so not one full unit, but you still get a lot of natural lighting in here. And I mean, it's spacious in the back. This is as expected, right? The C-Class is not super small, right? It's not like the A-Class. This is the entry-level Mercedes-Benz sedan, but it's not as small as something like the A-Class in the subcompact area. So this one you can definitely fit 4 adults here, no problem. The ride floor is pretty low, so again, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing to get in and out of, but the back seats are great. I like them a lot. All right, guys, let's go for a drive here. So I'm driving in the capital of Australia here. It's gorgeous, love the city. And I have to comment on how it's been to drive on the left-hand side of the road for the first time in my life, also using a right-hand drive car. It was surprisingly difficult. I honestly thought it would be easier than I expected to adapt, but it's been pretty difficult. It's definitely weird, especially with roundabouts and things like that. Anyways, going into the actual driving of the C200 here, it's great. It's comfortable, it's luxurious. Reminds me a lot of the ES350 sedan that I drove for 6 years or so. I love this car. The tech, fantastic. For a 2023 or 2022 vehicle, this is what I would expect, right? Like, I don't expect things like, I mean, in Toyota these days, I just don't feel like the tech is that great anymore. And it's not up to snuff with some of the competitors, right? This Mercedes-Benz MBUX system just far outclasses what other competitors offer these days. And I love this vehicle. I think driving it is exactly what you want from a luxury vehicle. It's got great tech, great safety features, and you know, it's just comfortable. It's quiet. It's a smooth ride. It's not sporty. It's not what you would expect for, you know, maybe a BMW or something like that. But again, this is a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. That mild hybrid system is nice, but it doesn't really do that much, except for really smooth out the acceleration. I will say a few small things that kind of annoy me are the brake feel. I definitely think the brakes are a little weird. I know some other reviewers commented on that too. They feel a little strange, hard to get used to, you know, how to administer the right amount of pressure and stuff like that. But aside from small complaints like that, this is pretty much a great vehicle for those people who just want the best of the best in terms of luxury. That's kind of what the S-Class is all about too, right? This car really is just a mini S-Class. It's if you don't need the huge amount of space and kind of over-the-top luxury of the S-Class, but you still want a comfortable cabin, right? That's what this C-Class is for, and the price range makes it a lot more affordable for a lot of people out there, compared to something that's like, you know, the $200,000 S-Class. So again, this is steep though, right? Mercedes is confident that this vehicle is better than the competition. The almost 80,000 Australian dollar price tag is kind of ridiculous compared to some of the rivals out there. But I mean, it's really a trade-off. Do you want the tech, and do you want the newest, essentially, right? This is kind of the best in the class, and if you want that, you really have to go with the Mercedes-Benz. I do also want to mention, for those of you who are concerned that this car might be a bit underpowered, considering it only has a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine, this never felt underpowered. 0 to 60 in 7.3 is still nothing to scoff at, honestly. And I mean, it has no problem getting up to speed in Australia. You know, I think in the US, some of those freeways that might start going 75 miles per hour is like, that's definitely not something they do much in the Canberra here, at least. But you know, in general, this vehicle doesn't feel underpowered in the slightest for these sort of road conditions. So I really think the C200 is the one to get. I don't know why I would spend an extra $12,000 on the C300, because it just, I don't think it would really feel that different, right? You get the same experience aside from maybe faster acceleration. That's really all it is. So I really think the C200 is the sweet spot. Kind of jealous that they don't make it in the US, because I think it would do very well, even with its weaker engine. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this unique review. I don't know when I'll get the chance to do another review like this in the future, but it's been really fun for me to drive this car around Canberra for the last 2 days or so. I've loved being in Australia and kind of learning the new challenges of driving on the other side of the road and stuff like that, so I'm always happy to kind of experience more things with new vehicles. Like the fact that U-turns aren't permitted unless there's actually a sign that says U-turn permitted. Kind of a new thing. But yeah, anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.